What's up, you guys? Cece here, and thanks for joining me here on Bradley TV. So if you haven't watched any of our videos, if you're not subscribed, all of that good stuff, stop this video, go ahead, click that subscribe button, click the notification bell. You never want to miss an upload. We do have a new upload schedule. It's every single Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll also be throwing in some lives and some bonus content throughout the week. So you want to make sure your notification bells are clicked so you never miss a single upload. So let's get started. Yes, I'm in the car. I'm sitting here at work, and I was just kind of in the car chilling. This is kind of my thinking time or whatever, and so I decided to record this video. First of all, it's hot as hell outside, so if you guys hear something, it's the air conditioning because it's hot, okay? But I get a lot of questions all the time about navigating the life of a blended family. So I've already done a video on this, like my personal situation and how that affects my relationship with my husband and all of that stuff. So if you guys haven't seen that video, I will leave the link right up here. Nothing's changed with that situation. Everything that I said is still the same. Everything still stands. I do get a lot of questions as far as being a step parent. Do I have any advice? How do I navigate that? And all of that stuff. So I'm going to address some of those things today and just give you guys my best advice. Now, FYI, I do not have it all figured out. I don't claim to have it all figured out. We still have our issues and challenges and things that we're working through. So I don't have it all figured out, okay? Everything that I say, this is what has helped me in my situation. This is what works with my particular situation, so it may not work for your particular situation. But let's keep the dialogue going down below. So if you guys do have any additional questions or any advice even to give out to anyone watching this, make sure you go ahead and leave that down below in the comment section. So just a little background on me. I am a stepmom, and I hate that term. That's one of my first pieces of, I guess, navigation throughout this whole process. I've never liked the term step parent, but we'll talk about that in a minute. I am a stepmom, and my husband and I have been together since his son was 10 months old. That's when I met him. So I met him very early on in his son's life. If you guys watch our vlogs and our videos, then you know Amari. You've seen him probably every single vlog. You've seen Mari in the vlogs, and so that's my husband's son from a previous relationship, and I've been kind of inserted in his life since he was 10 months. So in a way, I feel like my situation may be a little easier than someone coming in, say, a 5-year-old's life or a 6 or 7 or a teenager's life even. I feel like my situation may be a little easier because I've been there from the very beginning. Mari doesn't remember a time that I wasn't around. Doesn't mean that we haven't had our challenges. Like I said, I spoke about some of those in the previous video. We've still had our challenges. We've had our ups and downs. Just my role with him, how I discipline him, the respect that I demand from him, and also adding in our girls. So adding in Morgan and Mariah, that has also been like a point of navigation for us, because we're adding in 2 other kids, and obviously both of us are their parents, but both of us are not Mari's biological parents. So sometimes there can be differences, and so navigating that whole thing, that's also something that we deal with. So I was reading something the other day, and that's what actually sparked this video. I was reading something, and it said the majority of families in America today are blended families. So no longer is a blended family the minority. Most families are blended in some type of way. So this isn't some issue that we can shy away from. Most of us have dealt with, have seen, or are in a blended family. So the first tip I have is, like I said before, I don't like the term step parent, stepmother, stepfather. I feel like it almost has a negative connotation, you know, like Cinderella and the evil stepmother. And the funny thing is, it's always the evil stepmother. It's never the evil stepfather. It's always the mother that kind of bears that evil title. But I don't like the term step parent because I feel like as a stepchild, I'm gonna use that term just for reference for this video, but as a stepchild, I feel like you already feel like the outsider. So in our situation, Mari doesn't live with us full time. He's there every other weekend. every single Thursday, every other weekend, and then we have him all summer and then on like holiday breaks and stuff like that. So he doesn't live there full time. Our 2 kids live there full time, he does not. So coming into that situation, I feel like it already makes him different, already makes him an outsider. So if someone comes up to me and goes, hey, how many kids do you have? I'm not gonna say, oh, I have 2 daughters and then a stepson. I feel like that's weird. Like, you know what I mean? He's already an outsider per se, and now I'm just gonna make him even more of an outlier to our family by saying, you know, I have 2 girls and then a stepchild. I just feel like that makes the dynamic a little more, it makes it a little more apparent than it has to be. Like, I don't need to announce that he's not my biological child, you know what I mean? So that's kind of my first piece of advice. I don't like that term. I try not to use that term as much as possible because it makes an already awkward situation just more awkward, you know? The next thing I'll say is that if you are going to date a man or a woman with a child or children that's not yours, make sure that that's something that you are ready for. Make sure you're acknowledging the challenge that's ahead, because it will be some kind of challenge, whether it be dealing with the child or even the other parent. Make sure you acknowledge the challenge ahead and you sit down and talk about it with your significant other, and make sure that it's something that you really want, because everybody not built for this. Let me just say that right now, okay? Things in our relationship could have been a lot easier if we didn't have to deal with another person, meaning Mari's mom. So everybody ain't built for this, and that's okay. So be honest with yourself, be honest with your significant other if it's not something that you want to deal with, because it does come with this set of challenges. For those people who have it all figured out and you have had no issues, more power to you, honey. But as I told you guys in that previous video, you know, we've had our set of issues, and it has not always been easy to deal with. So just make sure it's something that you truly want to do, because your happiness matters as well. Don't just think you have to stay in a situation where you're not happy. Your happiness does matter. So if you don't like the situation, get yourself out as soon as possible, and I feel like it'll cause the least amount of damage and heartache to all parties involved. Another thing that I try to do is define my role as a step parent. When I say that, I mean, as the other parent, you do not, for the most part, unless that mother just completely is not in this kid's life, and even if they're not, I guess that would just depend on your situation, but you do not have, how do I put this, full range to parent as if, so in my situation, as if I'm his biological mother. I don't have full range to parent him the way I parent my girl. So if something is really wrong, if he really does something that bad, most of the time I let my husband handle it. I just feel like it's a better dynamic that way. So if my husband handles it, there's no angst between me and his mom. Like, obvious, I don't let him disrespect me. I don't let him disrespect the house. I do discipline him. I punish him if he does something. So I yell at him the same way I yell at my other kids. So it's not that I completely hold back, but I feel like if he were my son, I'd probably do a little more, you know what I mean? But I let my husband handle that situation, because sometimes it can just get confusing to a child. Not only that, but in my mind, I also try to be as empathetic as possible to him, because as much as we try to make it feel like his home, and I feel like he does feel like our house is his home, but he doesn't live there the majority of the time. So his highest level of comfort, I feel like, is at his mom's home, where he lives the majority of the time. So he kind of comes into our situation, and there's a different set of rules than at his mom's house, and we have a different set of standards, and so he has to now change how he's been living all week and come to us on the weekend and follow our rules. And sometimes that can be confusing to a child, that can anger a child, and so I try to be a little cognizant of that, as well as I do discipline him. I want to recognize that he is coming into a different situation, and although it's nothing new, he does it every weekend, he's still a child, And so you have to recognize that, and as the adult, think about how all of this shuffling back and forth is also affecting him. And then as the step parent, knowing your role within that. So having those conversations, I think, are important. If you do have a relationship with the other parent, I think it's important to try to have a conversation with them. In my case, I do not. Never spoken with her ever in 10 years. So in my case, we have zero communication at all. But I talk to my husband if maybe I feel uncomfortable disciplining about something, if maybe I have disciplined and I feel uncomfortable with the way I've done it, and I'll talk to my husband about that. If maybe I was too hard on him, or different situations, who I want to handle that. So if a situation comes up, I'm like, look, I want you to handle this because I want you to handle it. And so having those crucial conversations, I think, are very important because all parties are on the same page. Something else that I do is to make sure that I treat all the kids the same. So altogether we have 3 children, and I try to make sure I treat all 3 the same. Now this is where it can sometimes get sticky because, again, like I said, I try to be cognizant of the fact that he's being shuffled around in 2 different homes, and that could be confusing. He has 2 different sets of rules, 2 different sets of standards. So I definitely try to be accommodating and try to be cognizant of that as I navigate through. But there are also 2 other children involved, and I have to make sure that all of the kids feel equally loved. And if I'm disciplining one, I need to discipline all, because I can't make the girls feel bad for something because I don't discipline this other child for whatever reason in their mind. You never know what reason in their mind they're thinking, but then it looks like I'm playing favoritism to him. So you have to kind of be cognizant of all the children and their feelings for different reasons. I don't want Mari to feel like an outsider, but I also don't want my girls to feel less loved than Mari, you know? My next tip is to try to have a personal relationship with the child. Don't only talk to the child when your significant other is around. Don't only talk to them when you discipline them. Don't only talk to them when you want something or need something. Don't only have like BS conversations with them. Kids can see that stuff a mile away, especially if you're dealing with an older child, 13, through 18, maybe teenage age. Kids can smell BS from a mile away. So actually talk to the child, get to know them. That goes a very long way. Mari loves YouTube. He's gonna watch this video. He watches all of our videos, and he loves YouTube. He loves learning about filming and the cameras and everything like that. So that's kind of our little special bond, and we'll talk about that. We'll talk about different aspects of YouTube, and he loves that stuff, and that's kind of our special little bond right there. Obviously we talk about other things, but just knowing the child and having a personal relationship with them, I think really truly does help them warm up to you and get to know you and want to get to know you. Why should they want to get to know you and care about what you think or what you say if you haven't tried to get to know them? That's something that I think a lot of people fail at. They don't actually get to know their children. I think this is for your biological children too. Have something special with that child that you two share, that you two talk about, bond about, laugh about, and are really just both genuinely interested in, and I think that just goes a long way. And the last tip I have is to honestly just be ready for challenges and resentment that may come up. I feel like in any stepchild, step-parent relationship, there will be challenges and maybe some resentment that comes up. I think it just comes with the territory. So like I said before, you kind of have to have thick skin and acknowledge that this is what it's gonna be, and you have to be ready for it. Sometimes some situations are harder than others. Like mine isn't the easiest, but it's definitely not the worst. I have had such a good time, and I consider it an honor and a privilege to be able to be there for someone else's child when they can't be, I don't think I'm his mother by any means. He doesn't think I'm his mother. He knows exactly who his mom is. I cannot replace his mother, nor would I ever want to or ever try to, but I feel like we have our own special relationship, and we're working through that every day. even though I've been in his life his entire life, there are still challenges, and we work through it, try to work through it every single day. It is a relationship, it's a work in progress. Same way I have to work on my marriage, same way I have to work on my relationship with my biological children, I have to work on my relationship with my stepchild as well. And until you acknowledge that, until you can face up to that, it's like with my biological girls, I know for a fact there are going to be challenges. They are going to test my patience. They already do. I know for a fact that's going to happen, and I'm preparing myself. You have to be the same way with the stepchild, because they will also pose their own set of challenges. You can't just be all hands off and disengage and go, oh, that's not my kid, so I'm not gonna, you know, I'm not even gonna engage them. I'm not gonna try to really get to know them. I'm just gonna be hands off with it, because the situation won't work if you're hands off. Just being honest. You won't be happy, the child won't be happy. It might cause a rift within your marriage or your relationship, and if that's not what you want, I would definitely suggest to try to be hands-on. So that's it, you guys. Those are my tips or the tricks that I've learned over the last 10 years of being a step parent. Those are the tips and tricks that I've learned, and what I think has really helped me to form a pretty good relationship with Amari. If you guys have any other questions, comments, concerns, or again, you just want to share some general advice with everyone that watched the video, make sure you comment down below and let us all know anything that I missed, anything that I could have said differently or better. I'd love to know down below, because again, my relationship is still a work in progress, and I would love to improve in any way I can. If you guys like videos like this, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and hopefully this video was helpful. Thanks for watching Bradley TV, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.